At 14 minutes to 10, Adam Shirley with your mornings. Last week, as you might well know, was Harmony Week. And Harmony Day is the 21st of March. On that day, around the world, it's known by another name, International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Racism is something that can be bypassed or you might be reluctant to discuss in Australia, but it's real, it's here. And it's an issue for many people living in this region. Every fortnight we catch up with Vikas Sharma, producer and host of ACT Desi on Community Radio, and he's with us again just out the back of Harmony Week. Vikas, nice to catch up as usual, sir.
Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. What did Harmony Day and Week look like for you in the many ways you interact with your community, Vikas?
It's always fascinating to look around and have multicultural weeks and days and Harmony Week and Harmony Day being celebrated. And to your topic today that you've been discussing, I've been hearing and about neighbors. It's very interesting to see the reports coming in that how important it is to have know your neighbors, have a helping neighbor, because we have aged community, we have vulnerable people in our own community. But coming back to the Harmony Week and how did it pan out, I just want to bring about things where we can start to have that good kind of behavior generate, which can lead up to a good neighbor or a good neighborhood. So let's start from the school. I mean, we have Harmony Week. We have full week dedicated to things about everyone belongs and what are the cultures in and around you. But are we doing enough to make our children understand the need for tolerance and respect? I mean, how do we translate all these things that we say into action and daily behavior as adults and as children in class? We have to actually have tangible things which we can actually measure.
Tell me about the tangible things then that are positive, that lead to a better tolerance, support, care for each other, regardless of our backgrounds.
Exactly, and there are a lot of things that we do as an adult, in offices wherein we provide training to do all these things, right? We do something very very small would be a role play. Now, when we say role play in office, we try to convert that role play from a colleague to a manager's role play and try to understand what the other person feels in a similar situation. Why can't we have like a small presentation by children from another culture? Say everyone has friends from another culture, and try to understand their culture and present a point or something that they know about that culture, which is not by the kid who's not from that particular culture. That would try to actually live the way the other person, your friend or your colleague would be living. Learn a dance or song, from another culture for this day.
A phrase, a bit of local language and that sort of thing. Does that go beyond just well-meaning colours or T-shirts, for instance?
Exactly, and I mean, we just wearing and just having those discussions on those particular day doesn't work because it's an ongoing process. I mean, I remember some time ago when I had another interview with Lish. It was about racism and all that stuff, and I said that it starts with schools. People get fear of something which is unknown. If you remove that unknown part of that thing, you will probably may like it. So, for example, in a class, I mean, just coming back to the Harmony Week and what we can do at the school level, is like children have a very fertile mind. Maybe we can have a map and say, draw a map and trace which countries we want to visit, and probably then share trivia about that country, talk about the culture. That will create interest. That will come down to the level of the kids, fertile mind, and give them a chance of exploring things with an open mind. Maybe kids can have a small skit or a show prepared wherein they can demonstrate how they can behave tolerantly and respectively towards other religions.
I think of an example just in the last 6 months in my own little sphere, but I know a couple of my kids, my two kids and a couple of friends they have with various diverse backgrounds through the Pacifica region, the Asian region too, they've come home and explained a bit that to me because they've talked about it with their mates. How important is it to listen and then try and engage in that discussion with your children if they happen to raise it because they're interested?
Exactly. And, it's very important because listening, kids spend most of the time in the school and back at home. Now, when they come back at home, they need some, because in our days when we used to have some homework, and then we used to come back and revise what we've learned in school. Now, we don't have written assignments here in Australia, but then when they come back, we can ask our kids, what did they learn today? What one thing that new that they learned? I mean, tell us about your friend, and then probably with more knowledge as an adult of having that culture known, through Google or whatever you can, have your access to, you can give children one more trivia about it so that it becomes a learning process. So it all depends how we engage kids. I mean, if we just let them do their bit, because let's just agree that nobody wants to, if somebody like learning or studying is something, people say, oh, it's not voluntary. If you have to learn something, you have to put an effort to it. There will be certain, probably a good kind of stress because you're learning something new, because then you develop about. But we cannot just say, oh, this will be stressful and then we can't go. I mean, I have a personal experience. I was talking to someone from a non-English speaking, they have with their children. And what they told me, it broke my heart, because what happens is when a non-English speaking child comes to a school, they mostly feel distant from both teachers as well as sometimes students, because they can't interact in their language, right? No. So they become non-participating even more day by day. Now what happens is that leads to negligence because they cannot interact with teachers, they cannot interact with kids. As a result, what happens, even kids from the same community or language, who already have friends among the English-speaking children, may alienate them further. You know what I mean? So that's even more heartbreaking. I think we need to have that kind of an open culture start from the school level itself, and not just 1 week. It has to be like a lot of activities. We can do a lot of stuff, hold quizzes, show awareness about each other's land. We have sense of belonging for children from other communities. Have parents of different communities come and share their knowledge of their language, culture, food.
Vikas Sharma is with us on ABC Radio Canberra. Vikas presents ACT Desi on community radio and has a variety of different responsibilities in his community. Adam, Shirley with you on ABC Radio Canberra. What do you see that provides you with optimism when it comes to Harmony Day, 365 days of the year, or improvements in the way that Canberra might be welcoming people from diverse communities and backgrounds, Vikas?
I would say that, it's for me, an effort is the start of everything. But that effort has to not just tick the boxes, but actually be real. Real in the sense of, it, as I said, tangible outcomes.
Do you have optimism that's happening a bit in your experience?
Absolutely, because we ourselves are like 3 years old. I mean, in this great community, we can speak English language good enough for people to understand us. We try to give it to our kids, and then we also try to foster that kind of feeling that if you see someone who cannot speak English, don't alienate. You just go up to them. So I think it's an effort that everyone has to make, and I feel, and I'm a positive person. I try to draw things, get things out which are positive. So I have a lot of optimism. I feel there's a lot of things we can come back to which we already had good. We've lost somewhere like neighborhood and stuff. But yes, I think I'm really optimistic. And as I said, with you and with everyone like-minded people, I like to, continue working in this sphere so that there's some good coming out of it.
I reckon some effort constantly can be made, should be made, and it's beneficial for all of us. It's interesting to hear you reflecting on Harmony Week, given it's just finished, and what should be real and tangible to help people here. Thanks always, Vikas. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Vikas Sharma, who is presenter of ACT Desi on community radio. Adam, Shirley with you on ABC Radio Canberra. It gets me thinking, what kind of an effort do you make when you know someone in your region is recently arrived from a different cultural background? Do you, in fact, put up a smile, an offer of some kind, an attempt to learn a bit more about where they're from and what their story is.